Hey, horror fans, welcome back to Jay versus Horror. Today, we're starting something new. We're going to be talking about extreme horror films. Now, about 12 years ago, I got into extreme horror films, and it's one of those genres that it's kind of like a rabbit hole. Every time you think you've seen everything, you fall a little further and realize there's a whole lot more. And so the first film we're going to tackle in this series is one I saw fairly recently, about 4 or 5 months ago for the first time. It's a Japanese film from 1992 called A Garden Without Birds. Now, this is a very strange and interesting film from director Akira Nobi. And, guys, just to be fair, to put everything out there, it is a short film. It doesn't run much longer than 20 minutes, but it spends its time well. So, just to get started with some of the plot, we see a group of friends talking in a hotel lobby, and one of these friends is a painter, and he's telling his friends about how his last painting was a bird. He painted a bird that he saw, but the bird was dead, and after he painted that bird, he was unable to find inspiration anymore. So he's kind of blocked, and he can't figure out what to do next. He talks about how he can't feel anything anymore, and so what they've decided to do is have this big drug party in the hotel. We have an S&M couple, a transvestite, and a couple prostitutes, and our artist friend. So they head up to the hotel room, and once they get there, the S&M couple is already there. They're on the bed, and the girl is dancing around naked, and she has a cocktail glass full of pills. And so they hand out the pills to everyone, and they all ingest the pills. So while they're waiting for the drugs to kick in, they start having this conversation, and I believe the term is Schadenfreude. And I hadn't heard that term for many years, and then all of a sudden I heard it several times in a row. It was used in 2019's Rabid. They talked about it there, and of course there's a movie coming out from Tom Six who did The Human Centipede that's about Schadenfreude, and it's called the Oneida Club, I believe. But yeah, I hadn't heard of that term until a couple years ago, and what it means is someone who takes joy or gets pleasure out of the pain and suffering of someone else. So they start to have this conversation, and the artist again reiterates his not being able to feel anything. And so the prostitute starts to tell a story about a doctor client she has that likes for her to cut him up with razors. And there's a scene there where they kind of show that. And then the artist guy is just like, I'm bored. So he tells her that he's going to go hit the shower. And she tells him, please make sure you clean yourself properly, which is funny, I guess, because the prostitute's telling him to make sure he cleans himself up. But I understand that. If you're in that line of work, you definitely want the person you're dealing with to be clean, right? So he heads to the shower, and then we go back to the four or five people in the other room, and they start to discuss. One of the guys is telling him about an accident that he saw earlier that day. That a scooter fell over in front of him, and that there was a young girl laying in the middle of the street, and he was mesmerized by the look on her face from pain. He thought it was exquisitely beautiful. And then there's a truck that almost slams into him from behind, but it swerves around him, and when it does, it runs over her head. And so there's a really cheap effects scene there. And so then we see that the guy in the shower, the drugs are starting to take hold now. Everyone's starting to get weird. So we go back to the painter guy who's in the shower, and now he's looking at his arm in the shower, and his arm has become a giant paintbrush, and he starts to paint the entire shower, and he's painting all these giant birds and beautiful, colors and all this other stuff. And so then we go back to the bedroom, and they've kind of the drugs have started to take over with these people too, and they're just laying around like, ugh. And one of the girls, the prostitute, she gets up and goes into the shower, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot about you. And when she opens the door to the bathroom, We get our first sense of what's actually happening here because there's blood everywhere. The painter has opened himself up and painted the entire shower and bathroom with his own blood. So things start getting out of hand. So at this point, everyone starts to lose it. And one of the most interesting things about this film is that everyone has their own perspective of what's happening. One guy might be walking by, and in his mind, everyone's in freeze frame, but from their perspective, something totally different is happening. And it's one of the few films I've ever seen that attempted that. From here, we see the friend who's dressed in women's lingerie. He goes into the bathroom and he sees what's happened to his artist buddy. And we cut away from that, and then when we cut back, we see that he's totally out of it. He's trying to flush this guy's body down the toilet and doesn't understand why it won't work. And the women seem to have a little better hold on what's happening because the guys are just like Frankenstein fucked. You know, they are just zombied the fuck out. The girls are laughing and, giggling, and, they're not making a whole lot of sense either, don't get me wrong, but the guys are real fucked up. I mean, the painter cut himself open and bled all over the place, and then his buddy tried to flush him down the toilet, and then when he comes out of the bathroom, he's like, that's not going to work. The S&M couple go in there, and the S&M guy asks his mistress to take the knife and do something with it. And so then we cut back to the other guy who's now back in the bedroom, and like I said, guys, he's just totally Frankenstein fucked at this point. He lays down on the bed and starts to hallucinate about who knows what you could actually call this. He's like on a crucifix, but on the ground where he's sitting down, and there is what appears to be an authority figure of some sort screaming at him about what's happened, and he's trying to explain it in his mind that it wasn't his fault. And then the S&M couple come out of the bathroom through the middle of this, and they have the artist's heart in their hands, and they're laughing and goofing off, and they give it to one of the girls, and she takes a bite of it. Yeah, guys, this movie is fucked up. It's totally insane. And normally I wouldn't even talk about a short film, but this one is so off the rails and so much fun, actually. I mean, it's weird, don't get me wrong, but I'm a fan of movies who can do the extreme thing without showing rape and stuff like that. And so at this point, the girls kind of flip on the guys. It's probably a good thing because the guys are really fucked up. The one of the girls shoves a corkscrew into one of the guys' heads and starts to turn it, which is a fun scene. And then the other girl jumps on the bed where the guy's hallucinating and just cuts his throat with a switchblade. So, yeah. The best way to actually describe what happens here, guys, is just that mayhem ensues, right? Everyone starts killing each other in horrific, nasty ways. Some people think that they've been killed because this is going on, but then we see them again in the next scene, and they're not hurt, and they go after somebody else. And this whole hotel room just becomes a melee of blood and violence. But at the same time, I know I'm throwing this all out there, and it sounds like, what the hell did you watch, Jay? But it is very artistically done. See, all the stuff that's done in the present time, where we're seeing these horrible events unfold, it's all done in black and white. But every time they have a hallucination, or even in the beginning when they're talking about things they've seen, all that's in color. So it's very jarring at times to see the things that aren't real colorized, and then the things that are real are presented like a flashback memory in black and white. But it very beautifully uses black and white and jarring juxtaposition to put you in a place where you kind of feel like this movie hits that artistic safe zone. It's violent, it's vulgar, but yes, there is a artistic safe zone you can hit where none of that matters to me. And I think this film does that. And look, guys, I don't know if this film's message is simply about the danger of drugs. It easily could be, because these 6 friends ingest these drugs, and apparently it's a bad batch of hallucinogens, and they go after each other. So yes, you could easily make the statement that this film is anti-drug. But I think it's more of an existential exploration of the human mind's ability to be reconfigured and then subsequently operate on a whole new and truly terrifying level of consciousness. Anyway, kids, Jay says, don't take it if you didn't make it. And don't watch A Garden Without Birds unless you have an incredibly strong stomach and a mind that's open enough to know when to stay closed. And guys, that's all we've got for this episode. Had to keep it short. The movie's only 20 minutes long. And they're probably, usually I do these with audio and then I turn them into videos and loop pictures over them. I don't know how many pictures we're going to have for this one because it's 20 minutes long and just about anything I could show you that I could find would probably be pulled down by the high sheriffs here at YouTube. So we'll do what we can on that end to kind of show you what the movie looks like. But guys, I'm also going to add a link to the film in the description. That's right. If you want to go watch it, if you want to go see what I'm talking about, if your mind is trying to picture what I'm telling you and it can't quite get there, go watch the film. It's definitely worth the 20 plus minutes that it takes to watch it. And I mean, in the 20 plus minutes that they do this film, there's more content in this than a lot of movies I've seen that are 85 minutes long. So yeah, you can go check it out if you want to. And guys, we'll be back in a couple days with another extreme horror film review, and we will talk to you the next time we got something worth talking about. Bye.